Welcome to the Empowered Money Girl, where we break down the barriers to financial confidence, celebrate women's wins, and reveal the secrets to living boldly and well. I'm your host, Josette Mandela. So I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered how the most creative minds in advertising and marketing actually find their way into the rooms where those big ideas happen? Carol Vick is here to show us how it's done. She's the founder of Carol Vick Creative Recruiting and a longtime champion of the creative industry. With decades of experience in creative talent and recruiting, she has helped agencies and brands across the country find the best creative minds, from emerging talent to chief creative officers. Carol is also co-founder of the Creative Circus, one of the nation's top portfolio schools, and continues to mentor and advocate for creative professionals through organizations like Good Thinking Atlanta and AIR, Allies in Recruiting, where she champions diverse talent across the marketing and advertising industries. If you're curious about the intersection of creativity, opportunity, and building a meaningful career, you will love this episode. Please welcome the well-connected, deeply experienced, and creatively driven Carol Vick.
Thank you, Josette, for that introduction, and hello.
Hello. So, Carol, can you take us back to the beginning? What was your path like that got you to where you are today?
Well, I was always a creative person. I think I started as a child doing those, can you draw this little, tests, and decided I wanted to be an artist. And by this time, I had lost one of my parents, so I was really pretty much on my own financially from a young age. And I went to a great community college, ended up in Southern California, where I had a really good basic art background, moved to Atlanta, um, enrolled at Atlanta College of Art, and met a photographer, Rob Brinson, who I ended up working for so I could do what I was doing at the time, which was photo silk screens. I was doing a very kind of interesting fine art. And Rob happened to be one of the shareholders of Portfolio Center, and it kind of evolved that we both got involved with that school. And then when it's some of the department chairs broke off, and we started our own school that we wanted to be really, really creatively focused and not so much a money-making venture, and hence the Creative Circus, which at the time was there were only 2 to 3 portfolio schools in the US. So I didn't want, I had struggled being an artist and trying to be a fine artist. And I think my department chair in college said, you don't want to hang out with those commercial guys. They're commercial. And and then later I found out, oh yeah, that's exactly probably what I would have wanted to do, was to go into design or so it's been very rewarding to help people launch themselves in careers that they love. And these are often the people that were the odd man out, the odd person at their in their high school or in their college that had a creative bend. So all of a sudden, here they are driving, global brands, the creative kids. So,
So you talked a little about money. What was that first money lesson that you learned as a kid?
um, well, I think money was always something I had growing up. My father owned an oceanfront hotel in the Panhandle, which no one knew existed at that time. It was just these beautiful beaches. When he got sick, we lost everything, and it was up to me. I mean, I really grew up without a financial safety net of any kind, and ended up taking care of my mother. It was scary to jump out of a job and start my own business because while my job with the photographer as a producer, he was very much like my friend, and So it was an atypical job, but I made fairly good money there. And then at the school where I was part owner, we had shares. I wasn't getting rich, but it had, many other rewards to it. And then when I got recruited out by another recruiter, Carol Lee Kelleher, I I had a long pause, and I immediately started making. I probably quadrupled my money in that first year with my own business. So it was a little bit of having faith and knowing what I was doing. And Carol Lee had been in the business a long time. She was one of the first creative recruiters, and she kind of taught me all the proper rules of recruiting. So it it became very financially rewarding for me, and I, was able to, you know, take care of myself quite well.
So the jump happened when your father became ill and you realized that where you were wasn't really going to.
I actually think it took me a little bit longer. I think he died when I was 20, and it took me about 10 years to go, oh, I have to do this myself. Nobody's going to do this for me. I have to figure out how to make my own money. And I had long decided that seeing the dynamics in my parents' marriage, myself and I had four sisters, we were never going to grow up depending on a man for money because my mother was very trapped. And of course, she loved him very much, but he, he was a man of many faces, and he suffered post-traumatic stress disorder from a war experience, and he just got really sick, probably also from chemicals he inhaled in the war. But he left all of us with pretty much nothing, and it wasn't his fault. And who's to say? I've never been one of those people that thought, oh, I'll just get married and I'll be fine, because I've seen that so many times not be the case. Depending on somebody else is like, I'm not coming up with a really good metaphor now, but most of us know it just doesn't really work. You have to depend on yourself. You're the one who's going to deal with all your consequences, who's going to make yourself great, who's going to make yourself um, the person you want to be. And that's not up to anybody else. And you can't depend on anyone else to do that. So,
And that is so true. Back in the 50s, like you say, that whole man is the plan thing was was a thing. And like your mother, there were those that were felt trapped in relationships. Um, there were even lots of abuse and things, and those women just felt like they couldn't get out of those bad situations because, like you say, they never learned about managing money. They didn't know how to get out of what was a bad situation. And being able to do it yourself, there's a lot of advantages to that, even if you ultimately decide to talk to somebody else and have them help you with some things, that's okay. But understand the big picture yourself, or things are not necessarily going to go well for you. And
right.
even if you find the perfect guy, what happens if he gets sick or he dies?
Yes. Hmm. Yeah, life is unpredictable. And it's
Mhm.
hard, even with as they say about the best laid plans, things change. I mean, my industry has changed tremendously. And I think, there are many industries that are starting to follow now because of technology changes everything. So, how do you make yourself safe in with all the change? How do you learn to pivot? And I think part of that skill set is learning really to rely upon yourself, to you can find a way because you've done it before. And even, at my age, it's retiring is hard to do in the US right now. I'm not retired. I'm not going to retire anytime soon. And many people are not retiring now because they can't afford to. So it's a good thing to have that in mind from a young age. And I feel like if there were a few things that high school might offer students is financial training, for one. And the second thing is some kind of career training. Academia tends to be way behind what's actually happening in the world, hence the whole purpose of Creative Circus. Creative Circus was filled a gap in the market. There was no one at the college level that was able to keep up with the changing technology. So our teachers were all people who were very good in their industry, and we we kind of changed the dynamic there. We're not anti-academic, but we were people that do teach, and it made a big difference and made many of our graduates very successful. Um,
Mm. So, what was the moment when you realized that having your own money really mattered?
well, let's see. I don't know. Well, certainly, I've been divorced twice, and I have two children. So I actually think I realized that before I married the first time. I've never married for money because why would I? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I think. Um, God, I hope they never watch this podcast, but I've probably been a little bit smarter about money than either of my husbands. Um, but it's hard to come out of a relationship where there's two incomes and all of a sudden there's one. I'm not saying you need to plan for that, but it's always good to just be self-sufficient. It's the logical thing to do. Love is unpredictable, and finances are something that I think you can have a little bit more control over. And if I could do everything over again, I think I wish I would have been a little more financially focused um, at a younger age. Yeah. So, um, but I hope if there are young women listening that are creatives, or it's often hard for creative people to put money to their creativity. And I feel like with all these social media channels, it's might be a little bit easier if you're not if you don't have the other trait that comes with creative people. You tend to be a little introverted and shy. So um, I know I certainly used to be, and I still am basically, but um, it's um, it's hard to find that niche. And I think to have a successful business, sometimes you have to fill that gap in the market that nobody sees, or that's going to be the next thing. And build from there and build in a positive way where you have good relationships with people and you're not so concerned about your bottom line that you um, to me that's a very male way of being. We've got to be tough. We're going to look at, we need to cut that. I don't care if they only have 30 minutes for lunch and she's praying, or there's no reason that you need that much more money. I mean, where you can't. I mean, that comes back to you. It always does. And I hope that we're going to see a revolution in this lifetime where people get to a place where they realize he who has the most toys, um, in the end, doesn't really win. And the secret to happiness isn't, being a billionaire. Happiness is defined by many, many things. And of course, security and financial security is one of them. But um, isn't if it doesn't go along with greed, I mean, there's a difference. And I I'd like to think if women were really in charge, and we've certainly had a hard time making that happen in this country. There's still a lot of misogyny, that we'd be a little bit kinder world. I do believe that.
And yeah, I certainly agree that going after that money is the end all be all is not a way to be happy. That on paper, that yeah, being a billionaire, I mean, that sounds really cool. On the other hand, what am I getting for that? I mean, if being a billionaire and I'm a jerk, yeah, being a billionaire doesn't help anyone. On the other hand, if I'm a billionaire and I'm helping all these advance all these causes and solve all these problems in the world, then yeah, great. Let's be a billionaire. Um, but I agree that we
Mm,
need to really look at internally what makes sense and what's my heart telling me. Don't just chase the mighty dollar because that is not going to make you happy.
right.
However, making good money and then using it for good causes, yeah, I'm all
Yeah.
for that.
It's like what they tell you every time you get on the airplane. If you're traveling with a child, please make sure you put the air mask on yourself first. I mean, when you're self-sufficient, it enables you to um, be there for a lot of people that you want to be there for, and it enables to first and foremost be there for yourself, and there and that extends to others in your life. And unfortunately, I mean, I think one of the most philanthropic arms of any billionaire, which a lot of them just aren't, is a woman, and Melinda Gates. And Melinda has done tremendous things to help around the globe and in this country. So there are some people that give back, but I'm not seeing a lot, you know. And,
Which is unfortunate. And, we're all different people. So,
right.
what money belief did, or was there one that you had to unlearn in order to step into the leadership that you're at now?
I had to unlearn a lot. I eschewed any form of materialism as a youth. I wanted to find out the meaning of life. I became a renunciate. I lived in a tent in India on the banks of the Ganges for a few months. I had a young guru, and I I shunned anything material, and not that I had anything at that age anyway, but I did give away my car and anything I had, and I think it was such a culture shock being in a country like India at a young age, and as an American, you would go out in the street, and women would pick up garbage off the street and feed it to their babies, in order to get you to give them money. And because it was assumed we had money, which of course we did compared to many of them. And, you know, there were a lot of Americans and Europeans that went together for this trip pilgrimage I was on. And we came back, and most of us had dysentery.
Oh,
My father, by this time, my father was dying, and I drove him from New York back to the little coastal town we lived in Walton County, Florida, which is now close to Sandestin, which everybody kind of knows. And um, I think somewhere in the next 6 months, my very young guru married a airline stewardess, and which was which we were like, celibate, and we were very serious about our spiritual path. And then I just went, okay, this may be it for me. And I started trying to build myself back up into the world again, and knowing that my father's death came shortly after that, and I was pretty much on my own. So I I tried several art-related fields, and then kind of just happened into the creative circus, which tapped into huge multi-billion-dollar industry in the advertising and design world. And that was fascinating to me, and something I wish I would have been more aware of as a youth. But it was finally something, that kind of aligned with my um, who I was as a human, and also, just seeing all these. We had fabulous students from really good homes, and they were really bright. Most of them already had degrees, and we retrained a lot of people from other programs. Um, so somewhere in there, I learned a lot from these students, and their parents as well. And I was married, and that wasn't going well. And when that broke up, I just kind of, I had already started my own recruitment firm. I think by this time on my own, and between Portfolio Center and Creative Circus. So I I liked making my own money, and I had been. I've worked since I was 17, but to file the LLC, to do all the contractual, agreements you do with your clients, and it working in creative is a little bit different from a lot of businesses. It's not so terribly regulated, but it for me was rewarding in more than just a financial way, and I really appreciated the money that I do still continue to make in the field. It afforded me, a nice house and a car I'm going to soon upgrade. And, I'm not wealthy, but I would say I'm definitely successful. So, um, and I mean, I'm not sure how people define wealthy anyway. I feel like it's, uh, it's been an effort that has paid off. So,
Yeah, kind of the definition that I use is I work one because I want to, not because I have to.
right. Hmm. So, um, yeah, and people still look for top level good talent, not as much as they did before social and AI came to, I think there's a very big AI frenzy now, and companies are looking at their bottom line, and they're thinking they're going to save all kinds of money with this new technology. And I think there will be a bubble burst with it. I do. And I'm not saying that all these jobs are going to come back, but I think it'll be a little bit of reckoning, and we're all going to have to just readjust ourselves to this changing dynamic in all of our lives. And AI will get to you eventually.
Agreed. And with AI, I like you say, I think it's really hyped right now, but it's it's got its limitations, and it's always going to need it, at least the way that it is right now. It is always going to need a human to look at it and say, no, this doesn't make sense. Um, this is
Absolutely. It does need a human. And where there was one, where there were five, there's now one person. So a lot of people have lost their jobs. And And I think especially if you're in creative, I think a lot of us hate AI. It doesn't know how to kern. It doesn't capture the messaging that humans have amongst themselves. It doesn't hit any primordial chord that is kind of the key to good branding can make or break any business. And I think that it does take a human sensibility, someone that has emotions to kind of understand what resonates with someone, where you can tell AI, I want to have this visual. And usually even that's pretty bad because it's not nuanced at all. And typography, I mean, just there's a million things that AI, I'm sure, will learn to do eventually, but good taste, mm, it's it's at the beginning and still all across LinkedIn now are as AI recruiting. AI can, we don't use creatives, we use AI. And I'm like, well, you know, that says something right there that most people will never touch. But
Mhm.
it's a money thing. It's a bottom line thing that people think is going to save them and save their company so much money. But I think it should be approached cautiously and with some wisdom around it, you know. Um,
Agreed. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to Carol Vick for sharing her wisdom and energy with us. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the Empowered Money Girl with your friends. The more we spread these stories, the more women we can empower to live boldly, both financially and in every part of life. Until next time, keep thriving. And remember, your journey to empowerment starts with you.
Thank you, Josette.